Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. You ever sit across from someone you've known for 10 years and feel like you're meeting them for the first time? That's what it felt like, sitting across from Miranda at the Caldwell House charity dinner, Thursday night, 7:22 p.m. I remember the time because I checked my watch right after she laughed at something Daniel Cormer said. A little too loud, a little too long. Daniel was her boss, regional director, drove a vintage Porsche and talked with his hands like he was always about to pitch a movie. We'd never had dinner with him before that night, but Miranda made it sound important. "It's just dinner, Jacob," she said that morning, still in a robe, sipping coffee like she hadn't slept 4 hours at most. "The team's inviting spouses. It's good optics." Good optics. That's a new one. I said I'd go, like a good husband does. Wore the dark suit she picked out for me last Christmas, the one that always felt a size too slim. We got there early. She disappeared before we even hit the coat check. When I found her again, she was already seated at the head table, leaning in close to Daniel like they were co-conspirators at a secret summit. I slid into the empty chair beside her. She didn't introduce me, just smiled and said, "You found us," like I'd been lost. Dinner was polished, candles, soft jazz, a silent auction in the corner. Everyone looked rehearsed, like they'd been told where to look and when to laugh. I said maybe 6 words all evening. No one asked what I did. One woman called me Justin. Miranda didn't correct her. But the moment that stuck wasn't during dinner. It was after. Daniel placed his hand on Miranda's shoulder. He didn't even look at her, just rested it there while talking to someone else. And she let him. Didn't shrug it off, didn't move, just smiled like nothing was wrong. That was the moment I knew something was. The car ride home was quiet. Not angry quiet. Practiced quiet. The kind where you both pretend it's not worth bringing up. I drove. Miranda scrolled her phone like she hadn't just spent 2 hours pretending I didn't exist. The glow from her screen lit up her face while I stared straight ahead at the red lights. At one point I asked, "How long have you known Daniel?" She didn't look up. "Since I started." "Why?" "Just wondering." She gave a little shrug. "He's harmless." I didn't say anything after that. We got home, and she went straight to the bathroom. I heard the sink run, makeup remover, cabinet door, then her voice through the door, casual, like we were still back in the early years. "You seemed off tonight." "Did I?" "Yeah." A pause. "You didn't really talk to anyone." "No one really talked to me." Silence. Then she opened the door, towel in her hands, mascara faintly smudged under one eye. "You're not mad, are you?" I met her eyes. "Should I be?" "I don't know, Jacob." She sighed. "It was a work thing, not a family barbecue." She walked past me, down the hall, into the bedroom. I stood there for a second, then followed. She was already under the covers by the time I reached the doorway. Light off on her side. I sat on the edge of the bed. "You didn't correct that woman when she called me Justin." "I didn't hear her." "You laughed." Another pause. "It's not a big deal." That's when I realized something. She wasn't lying. She genuinely didn't think any of this was a big deal. Not the touch, not the names, not the way she looked at Daniel like he was the star of some show I wasn't invited to. She was already somewhere else in her mind, and I was still trying to figure out where I'd lost her. The next morning, Miranda was already gone by the time I got up. She left a note on the counter, "Early meeting. Don't wait for me tonight. Team dinner." Dinner, another night I wasn't invited. I spent the morning pretending to work from home, but my mind kept circling back to the way Daniel's hand sat on her shoulder like it belonged there. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring out. Then a text popped up. "If you want to know what's really going on, meet me at Cafe Velo, 2 p.m. Ask for Brandon." I stared at it for a long minute. Scam? Set up? But something in me itched. That same itch that started when Miranda smiled at Daniel without pulling away. At 1:45, I drove to the cafe. Small place. Brick walls, metal chairs, the kind of spot where no one notices a new face. I sat by the window, ordered a coffee, and waited. At exactly 2 p.m., a guy slid into the chair across from me. Late 20s maybe. Sharp haircut, black jacket, phone in his hand like he was ready to bolt if needed. "You're Jacob, right?" he said. I nodded. He glanced around, then leaned in. "Look, I don't know you. You don't know me. But you're getting played." "By who?" He gave me a look like I was slow. Daniel, and your wife's not just collateral damage. I tensed. What do you mean? Brandon pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it so I could see. Photos. Miranda and Daniel. Different night. Different clothes. Same closeness. Same casual touches. One photo showed her leaning into him outside a bar, laughing like she didn't have a ring on her finger. She's not the only one, Brandon said. He's got a pattern. Promises promotions, trips, the whole deal. Your wife? She's just the latest. I sat back, blood pounding in my ears. Brandon stood. You didn't hear it from me. He was gone before I could even ask a question. I finished my coffee in silence, staring out the window, already knowing what I had to do next. That night, I didn't ask Miranda about the team dinner. I already knew where she'd been. She came home late, around 11:30. Hair tousled, heels in one hand, blazer draped over the other. She looked surprised to see me still up. You're still up? She said. Yeah, just couldn't sleep. She walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, pulled out a bottle of water. No questions, no guilt. She was getting good at acting normal. I waited a beat. Did you see Daniel tonight? She froze for half a second, then covered it. Of course, he was there. Why? I shrugged. Just curious. You mentioned team dinner. She didn't like that. Her eyes flicked up, testing my face. Why are you asking? I'm not. Just making conversation. Miranda gave a tight smile, then walked off toward the bedroom. You should get some rest. But I didn't sleep. I waited until I heard the soft rhythm of her breathing, then got up, quietly slid her purse toward me, and found her work phone. Locked, obviously. But when the screen lit up, I caught a glimpse of a notification. Reservation confirmed. Norrelton Hotel, Suite 2105. I didn't need a password to know what that meant. The next day, I called in sick. At 4 p.m., I drove across town to the Norrelton and sat across the street in my car, windows cracked, eyes on the lobby. At 5:42, Daniel walked in, alone. A few minutes later, Miranda followed, sunglasses on, hair pulled back. She didn't look around. She walked like she'd done it before. They didn't come back out. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. I drove home, took out a manila envelope I'd prepped the night before. I had printed the photos Brandon had sent me after we met, slid them inside, and started writing a note. Not to Miranda, to Daniel. I didn't threaten him. That would have been too easy. Instead, I kept it simple. Handwritten on a plain sheet of printer paper. Daniel, I know what you're doing. So does someone else. You'll want to tread carefully. Leverage has a way of shifting. No name, no return address, just the note and the envelope with the photos tucked inside. I dropped it off at the front desk of his office building the next morning. I didn't hear anything for 3 days. Not from Daniel, not from Miranda. She acted like life was fine. Kissed my cheek before work, asked if I wanted chicken or pasta for dinner, smiled like none of it had happened. But on Thursday, I noticed a change. She came home early. Hair down, no makeup, no blazer, just silence. I was in the kitchen when she walked in. She hovered near the counter, didn't take off her coat. You okay? I asked. She nodded too quickly. Yeah, just long week. I didn't press. She sat on the stool across from me, stared at the floor. Then, Daniel's taking some time off. Company's calling it a sabbatical. I kept my tone flat. Is that so? She nodded again, then added, there were rumors going around. HR's getting involved. I didn't speak. I don't know what's going on, she said, voice soft. Everything just feels off. I set my coffee down. Maybe it's because you've been playing two sides and finally ran out of space to stand. She didn't deny it, didn't fight. She just looked down at her hands, twisting the edge of her sleeve between her fingers. After a long moment, she said, Jacob, it's not what you think. I kept my voice even. Then what is it? She opened her mouth like she had an answer, but nothing came out. Just a small, broken shrug. Right, I said, pushing my chair back. Exactly what I thought. She didn't follow me. She didn't try to explain. She just sat there, small, quiet, and cornered. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Not guilt, acceptance. She knew it was over, and so did I. By Sunday, she started packing. Not dramatically, not with boxes or yelling, just slowly. a drawer here, a suitcase half zipped on the bed. She didn't say where she was going, and I didn't ask. I didn't need more proof. I already had everything I needed. While she was upstairs packing, I opened my laptop, found the photos Brandon had sent me, and attached them to a new email. No subject line, no body text, just the photos. I sent it directly to Cynthia Cormer, Daniel's wife. Then I closed the laptop, poured myself a cup of coffee, and waited. At 3:17 p.m., Miranda came downstairs. She didn't even look at me at first. No words, no excuses, just silence. I was in the living room, reading. She stood in the doorway like someone who forgot her line. "It's all falling apart," she said quietly. I turned a page. It was already broken. She nodded, chewing the inside of her cheek. Cynthia called him, said she's filing. Good for her. She stepped inside slowly. I didn't mean to fall for him. It wasn't supposed to be anything. It never is, I said. I just felt invisible with you. I finally looked at her. Calm. Cold. So you built a new life behind my back. And what? I was supposed to figure it out one day and be fine with it? She didn't answer. I sent the divorce papers last week, I said. You'll find them in your email. I already signed. Her face twisted, not with sadness, with realization. This wasn't a fight. It was a conclusion. You really did plan it, she whispered. I stood, buttoned my jacket. No, I just stopped waiting for you to tell the truth. Miranda didn't cry. That was never her way. She stood in the kitchen like a guest in a house she used to own. The wine glass she always used was still on the counter, half full. She didn't touch it. I'll sign them, she said finally. You'll have them back by tomorrow. Take your time, I replied. Doesn't matter to me anymore. There was a pause. Then she asked, Are you going to tell people? I looked at her for a long moment. I don't need to. People figure it out. She nodded, slowly. Like that answer hurt more than an outburst ever would. You were good to me, she said. Better than I probably deserved. I gave her a tired smile. You were better too once. She didn't deny it. Just stepped back, took her purse, and walked toward the door. No dramatic goodbyes. No last plea. She paused before leaving. I hope you find someone who doesn't make you feel like a stranger at your own dinner table. Then she left. The silence afterward wasn't empty. It was clean. The kind that stays behind after you pull a knife from a wall and patch the hole. I didn't celebrate. Didn't post quotes online. Didn't tell friends over drinks. I changed the locks and went back to living like I'd never stopped. A week later, a package showed up. No return label. Inside was a book I once mentioned liking, back when we were still learning each other's favorite things. First edition. Note tucked inside. You were right to walk away. I hope you never second-guess that. She signed it with just her name. No love, no apology. I placed it on the shelf and left it there, untouched. Because this was never about revenge. It was about cutting loose what needed to be cut. A few months later, I heard Miranda and Daniel tried to make it work. New apartment, new lives, same old problems. It didn't last. People like them rarely do. By then, they were just names I didn't think about anymore. I focused on my work, my routines, the life they thought they could break. Turns out, the quiet ones aren't the ones who get left behind. They're the ones who survive. Thank you for watching.